Dark Crisis, issue 2, Joshua Williamson writing with Daniel St. Pierre on the art. We left last issue with Deathstroke leading an army of supervillains after the Titans Tower, as well as teasing some other things around the cosmos. This issue starts with a kind of a bit of a refresher on Pariah for people. Just him losing his world, he wants it back, he wants to destroy Earth Zero because that's the only way to bring back the infinite multiverse, or the infinite Earths specifically, I should say. So that's the little teaser, and it goes straight to Titan's Tower, and Nightwing is beat to shit. Some of the younger heroes are dragging him out of the tower. They're all scared. Bunch of C-list villains show up, and all goes down. Deathstroke shows up, says that a lot of other heroes around the world have been targeted, and we see who some of those are, and some little panels, little bullseye panels, and they bring out Beast Boy. They do actually reveal here that Beast Boy is probably not going to be dead. That because he's a shapeshifter, it doesn't really matter they shot him in the head, because technically he's
I do like that it shows Slade's familiarity. That he goes, we've dealt with him so many times, we're not even sure if where his brain is, which is a nice also slam on Beast Boy.
Yeah, but obviously not without making a dig that it possibly might not exist.
Right.
Because Beast Boy, the dum-dum. But yeah, all boils down to this showdown where Deathstroke wants a one-on-one fight with Dick and hands him his sticks. He gets up. We get a great 2-page spread of just
good.
Lots of panels of just elbows and punches and all sorts into each other's faces. And Dick does actually kind of get the upper hand by the end. He knocks him down, and he's trying to win the fight, but all the other villains just start grabbing the young kids and saying, hey, if you don't back down, we're going to kill Roundhouse and some of these other youngsters that I don't know the name of.
Yeah, the Titans Academy kids.
Yeah. So he's actually just willing to give himself up. He's like, kill me and let everyone else go. He's doing a full heroic thing, and that's when John swoops in and takes the bullets, and it's like, oh, okay, Superman moment.
Yeah, you cut it a little close. I didn't like that.
Got your dad's timing, I think, was the exact phrase. So Deathstroke has prepared for this a little bit, though, because Cyborg Superman swoops in to try and take on John. So they go fighting in the rain and the lightning, and very biblical, up in the sky, throwing each other around, all that kind of stuff.
Is it Slade or Cyborg Superman that's talking to John about being an imposter?
The Cyborg Superman, because John says, you're not my father, and he's like, well, neither are you.
Yeah. And he's like, I know what it's like to try to live in that shadow, and it's impossible. And it's almost like he's just trying to seed these doubts into John, that we've seen, kind of like this darkness. That's been affecting everyone else. Basically,
Pariah calls Deathstroke away. Pariah's like in his head, whispering things to him, and calls him away because there's other things to do. His whole point is that he needs all the heroes alive for something, because he's, as he says, there's a crisis coming, and he needs heroes on Earth Zero to be alive. But, so he calls them away, they all leave through portals. The Superman and Cyborg Superman fight kind of wraps up by them crashing through the top of the building. Cyborg shows up to help keep him down. Everyone kind of takes a moment in the rain to hug, kind of like recuperate after the moment. And then Black Adam shows up and criticizes John. See, I knew you weren't ready to alien Justice League. And apparently the person I thought was ready, which was Nightwing, I was wrong about, because this is a complete train wreck. Look at this. And I'm like, dude, like, do you even know there was something going on?
It was a sneak attack. Like, come on, man. No, it just shows how much of a jerk that Black Adam still is.
Black Adam says, I need to lead this new Justice League. It's time for me to take over, because you children just can't do it. So, there's a lot of stuff here. I really like the fight between Nightwing and Deathstroke. It felt like a big mano-a-mano thing. It felt like it was sort of, just drenched in the history of the New Teen Titans, and like sort of using all that history to make it mean something. The Black Adam setup at the end is just kind of like, okay, that's where we're going next, so I'm curious to see what they do with that. But this was like 2/3 of the comic. This was quite a lot of the issue, was all this stuff at Titan's Tower.
St. Pierre kills it in that fight with the rain. Like the cover doesn't do that fight justice, right? Like, it's really kinetic. It's just the shots that they use, the way that their breakdowns go.
It feels like hard, but it feels like they're beating each other to a pulp. And that Nightwing Deathstroke fight, and then even the fight with the two Supermans
Yeah.
in the sky. Like I love just the rain and the lightning, and you can almost hear it, and as you're reading it, because you're just imagining them having this fight in the sky. It's like a good version of that shitty fight at the end of Matrix Revolutions, where Smith and Neo are fighting in the sky in the rain, but better, obviously. So we cut to space, and we're introduced to Kyle Rayner, who's on a ship. He's escaping, making a bit of a prison break, as it were. And just as he's about to get out, both Hal, and Joe show up, and this is actually the first time Kyle gets to meet Joe. So introduces himself. He finds out that Justice League are dead, and that the speedsters are off trying to find Barry, and it's like, this is basically them recruiting Kyle back into the Corps. So we get this big full-page spread of like the Green Lantern Corps, because Joe and Hal came in to get him out of the ship, but when they come outside, like what's left of the Corps is all sort of hanging around outside. So you see Jessica, you see Simon, you see Guy, you see Kilowog, the whole
John noticeably absent, so I wonder what's going on in his book. Oh wait, he was with the Justice League.
He's dead.
Good Lord, I forgot. Oh.
You're lucky you realized that, because I was about to chew you out for that.
Yeah, that's right. He was the GL that was with the team. Good Lord.
What's happened to John? I don't know, the whole thing, the death of the Justice League, man.
Yeah. I forgot he showed back up for that. Yeah.
That's funny stuff.
But yeah, it was good to see Kyle. So this is tied to what was going on there, right? Where all the rings stopped working. So he's probably been locked up since.
Everyone else seems to have a ring, so clearly, like I say, we stopped reading the Green Lantern books. I don't know if this actually is explained in there, but they all have rings again, and Hal, if you notice, he's holding a ring in his hand for Kyle. Yeah. So it's like, okay, we're getting everyone back together, and we're going to go and help save Earth, and indeed the multiverse. I enjoyed this issue. I mean, I think some people may argue it doesn't move things forward too much, and I think that is true. But I did enjoy all of the Showdown stuff at Titan's Tower, and I like this tease of all the Green Lantern Corps getting back together, and seeing Joe, completely integrated with the others is really nice. Yeah. Because I think the one thing Kyle knows about her that he's heard is that, oh, you're like a great detective, right? And she's like, I solved a few cases. So they're incorporating like what her book was about into her character. That's
good. Yeah, if we're not moving the story fine, that's fine, because it gave us good character beats. Like with John and fighting Cyborg Superman, and Dick versus Slade, and just playing on all of that,
It's actually something I've become a bit more frustrated by recently, just in general, because the Boys season 3 finished this week, and I heard some people say that the season felt like filler to them, because it didn't change the status quo enough, and I feel like most people don't respect like character arcs and like characters going through things. And don't get me wrong, things can absolutely feel like filler. They can, but I think people are a bit quick to jump to that statement, just because they don't feel the plot has moved forward enough.
Yeah, it's one of those things I feel like social media is kind of ruined, because now everyone has a voice, and I feel like they see something and then they repeat it without fully understanding. And sometimes people are right, like you said. Sometimes there are stuff that feels like filler, but if you get good character stuff, I mean, how do you define filler is my question, because like, I
mean, it is tough. I mean, it's more a feeling than anything, but basically it's just the absence of any substance. And I would say that, generally speaking, the couple of examples was this season of The Boys and season 5 of The Expanse. I heard a lot of this, that it was filler because it didn't do enough, and I thought that was one of the best seasons of the whole show, because the character drama was so good, and the way it was like paying off like all the character stuff that had been building for seasons. But to some people, if it's not the greater plot moving forward, then it's that's, and to me, the character stuff is equally important, if not more so important than the greater plot. So don't get me wrong, I do think these examples of TV that I'm giving are a bit different to a comic book, where you can feel like an issue of an arc is filler. But
I just feel like with this whole idea of the Dark Crisis, that this darkness is almost like a nihilism, or it's entropy, or it's nothingness, right? That I feel like if they are fighting nothingness, making us feel for these characters is something that's going to pay off in the end.
Yeah, no, I
like,
mean, you can't do this every issue, but yeah, I think the point
no,
of this issue is to make you really want to root for Dick and John beyond
yeah,
anyone else.
right.
So
And then you get a good fist pump moment when Hal shows up, with Joe to save Kyle, and Kyle's got a great moment,
yeah.
and
They ruined it a little bit
yeah.
by having Guy in that last page, but other than that, yeah.
No. How dare you, sir? So if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I hate this filler as just a derogatory. It's almost filler itself that you don't know how to say, like, oh, they didn't land with me. It's filler. But now I gotta get caught up on the boys, because if you're saying it's all character stuff, that's the stuff I was digging on that show.
Some things can absolutely just be filler, right? It is something that can be a valid thing to say, but it is used as a shortcut. And I would argue that filler is the negative version of a positive thing that I also hate. And you're guilty of this, Matt, is when you just say, oh, it's just fun, and then just leave it at that.
Yeah.
It's basically the two sides of the same coin, which is just like hand waving. Either, on one side you're hand waving away good things and saying it's filler, or the other side you're hand waving away bad things and saying it's fun.
Right. So when I do that on the show, it's just because I don't want to get into an argument with you that lasts 10 minutes.
Good chance of that.
Yeah, so like, if you catch me on Twitter though, we can have a conversation about why stuff works, and but like there's sometimes I come in and I thought I didn't like a book until I start talking about it. And then when I talk about it and start to break it down, and you think, sometimes you gotta. I feel too many people are trying to get their opinions out as fast as possible, and that's how we get too much of the shorthand. And
yeah. But I mean, my critique isn't necessarily aimed specifically at social media. It's just something that I've been noticing becoming more of a thing, and obviously sometimes I'll disagree with opinions, sometimes I'll agree with them. That's not that weird, but there's definitely some trends I'm noticing where there's certain just broad stroke like buzzwords being used to describe certain things, and it's frustrating. I mean, at the same time though, there are like legit criticisms that can become buzzwords where you agree with the core thing, but then it gets kind of bastardized because people just start throwing it around willy-nilly. For example, I am someone who thinks most Marvel media right now has no stakes, but people throw that phrase around so much that it's become basically meaningless.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know. It is what it is.
With this book, because like you said, we hit the character stuff, we hit the art. There's not much else to go off of, but it's still, I really enjoyed it. Like, it was a good read. It lived up to, I got it physically, so I got it later, and it lived up to me waiting a couple days to read it, especially being a Dick Grayson fan, and just him getting that moment right there, him fighting Slade to a standstill, basically. But I also feel it's because Slade's also under the influence of whatever that darkness is, right? Whatever Pariah did to the Lazarus Pit,
It's it's a sort of issue that you kind of wish it was double shipping, because it because it does feel like it's like, oh, another month before we advance anything again. Like I do get that criticism, but there was nothing in the book that I didn't like though.
No, that's exactly. I have nothing else, like no other real negative. Like I can't. It was just an all around good time. Like again, I enjoyed what I read, and I don't want to say fun because I'm self-conscious. It was darkly fun. How about that? Because like the Beast Boy thing, again, I was like, I can't believe Williamson killed off Beast Boy. And then when Slade throws him down and questions if he even has a brain, I was just like, oh man, like that's even worse than just a dead body. It's insult to injury.
Yeah. All right, we give a Dark Crisis issue 2.
I'm gonna give it an 8.
Yeah. I'm kind of hovering the same place. I don't think it feels quite as big as issue 1 did, but I'm liking what it's building to. So I might go a nudge lower and go 7.5. I might be just a touch harsher.